Something about this doesn't make sense. We're being told this is a routine legal dispute, but when you look closer, it feels more like a coordinated push. States' top cops, lining up against one state official, with stakes that go far beyond New York. The story we're hearing is that Letitia James is trying to hold gun manufacturers accountable for violence in her state. Her office is using a New York law to argue that companies should face consequences if their business practices contribute to harm. On paper, it's framed as public safety, protecting communities and closing gaps in accountability. But here's the issue. More than 24 Republican attorneys general, top law enforcement officials in their own states, have stepped in together. Not individually, together. Filing legal briefs, backing the gun industry, and directly challenging James's authority to bring these cases. If you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe. Please support the channel by liking the video. We need your support to keep bringing you news like this. Now watch what happens next, because this is where it starts to shift. First, there's a federal law that protects gun manufacturers from being held liable when their products are used in crimes. That protection is broad, and it's been the foundation of how these cases are handled across the country. Then, New York takes a different route. Instead of directly challenging that federal protection, it builds a case using a public nuisance law, arguing that companies can still be responsible if they contribute to dangerous conditions. It's not a direct attack on federal law. It's a workaround. Now here's the important part. These attorneys general aren't just defending the industry. They're warning about what happens if New York succeeds. Because if one state can do this, then any state could start creating its own paths around federal protections. And here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just pushback, it's coordinated resistance. A block of states effectively teaming up to stop one state from expanding its legal reach. Not just disagreeing, but trying to shut it down before it spreads. So when you put that together, this starts to look less like a single case, and more like a nationwide power struggle. One side trying to expand accountability, the other trying to lock in protections. And that leads to one conclusion. This fight is likely headed toward the Supreme Court of the United States. Because once states start clashing like this over how far their laws can go, that's usually where it ends up. This matters because it sets a precedent. If New York wins, states may gain more power to hold industries accountable in new ways. If the coalition wins, it could reinforce strict limits and make it harder for states to try this again. And here's what this actually means in real life. This could shape how responsibility is defined in America, not just for gun makers, but for any industry tied to public harm. It's about who gets to draw the line and who has to answer when things go wrong. So the real question is this about enforcing the law or controlling how far the law can reach? If you're following this and want to help this channel grow and continue bringing you stories like this, take a second to like the video and subscribe. That support actually makes a difference.